Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So we are approaching the Ramadan, so we thought of discussing diet, especially the diet during the Ramadan. But I'll be discussing some relevant points which are beyond Ramadan, like the diet is for every day. So I'll try to give some generalized points, but especially concentrate on Ramadan. Before going directly into the diet, you would see what is sad. What itself sad, it says it's sad. What is sad? Lot of sugar, refined flour, industrial oils, processed meat, and artificial drinks like Coke, Pepsi, and things. So this is the diet, not only American, it's now global. And if you see the youngsters, that is the diet. And especially if you see during Ramadan, this is becoming a worse thing. It's more than normal days. What else we are doing unhealthy? We have a sedentary life. We don't walk. We don't do any physical work. And we are all the time living in an artificial light. We are not exposed to sunlight. Though there is some sunlight in this country, we are not exposed to it. And a lot of people are becoming isolated from the active community life. But a Muslim community, compared to other communities, is having some sort of active community life. And the other worst thing is the social media. The Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter. This is not only killing your time, spreading lots of false rumors and sort of bad things for you, which leads to a very unhealthy society. And when I reached London, I found this stuff, which was sent from a friend of mine. In this country and the Western world, we see a lot of autoimmune diseases. Autoimmune means, the immunity itself is acting against us, such as asthma, allergies, rheumatoid arthritis, type 1 diabetes, that is diabetes which occurs in childhood, and celiac disease, especially in the Western countries. If you go to Sri Lanka, I prepared this lecture for the Sri Lankan, but there are a lot of non-Sri Lankans also. I will try to sort of generalize. If you go to any Asian countries, you wouldn't see type 1 diabetes. You wouldn't see such a lot of asthma and allergies. So there seems to be a connection to the diet, especially the pork seems to be having a fatty acid called omega-6, which can increase your risk of autoimmune diseases. So that's one of the important things, but as Muslims we wouldn't be anyway taking pork, but I just wanted to tell you this one. And if you see the Southeast Asians, who are Southeast Asians? The Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, Sri Lankans, and Indians. If you see them, the level of obesity is very high compared to the whites. Diabetes is very high, heart disease is very high, and cancers are high. So we seem to be having something wrong. And if you see the body weight, we measure the body weight in BMI. That's your weight divided by your height. Should be 25 or less for a Caucasian or a British person. But for Asians, it should be less than 23. So that means we should be having a small body mass. This was very well shown in an Oxford study. These were two academics working in the Oxford University. This was published in 2004. If you see the person who is on your left side, the person with beard is an Indian. The other person is the British You can see both look similar. Both have a BMI of 22.3, and they decided to measure their body fat. To see the British person, the white person, has 9.1% fat in the body, and the Asian, the Indian, has 21% body fat. So what does it tell you? It's the visceral fat, that means within the tummy and the chest. So that tells you that the Asians are having a small body but a lot of fat. So we have to be having a totally different diet, a totally different lifestyle. So you can't go for a sort of Western diet or the standard American diet. Because our ladies are here, I just wanted to show this. You would see in a lot of people the neck is becoming a bit blackish. So people think it's a skin disorder and try to apply so many creams. If you go on Facebook, you would find such a lot of treatment for this. This is not a skin disease. It's a sign that tells you have a lot of fat in your tummy and you are going into diabetes and heart disease and you are going into problems. So if you see this, if you see this one, the next thing you should do is cut down your food and exercise. I have done quite a lot of studies on diet and related things, mainly in Sri Lanka. We did a study in Sri Lanka and in a specific group, I don't want to sort of first tell you which group we did. In a specific group, we studied and found that 49.2% are having obesity. You can see this graph. 49.2% are having obesity. And then we asked them, how is your body weight? Do you think it's normal, underweight, or obese? Only 1.5%, this red bar, told us they are obese. That means, people are thinking that they're having a normal body mass, not having obesity. So that's a big problem. You have a problem which you don't seem to know. So you don't seem to sort of not appreciate it. So that's a big problem. And that's common in Asians, very common in Asians. We think in our bodies are okay. So coming to fasting, fasting is having two aspects. One is the spiritual health and the physical health. So we have to achieve a good physical health by fasting for 30 days. But what happens is totally different scenario. So during fasting, a lot of people don't lose weight, their cholesterols don't go down, their diabetes don't improve. So seems to be something wrong. So it shouldn't be, before starting to fast, we should have some preconditions. Don't take it as a feast. It's a fast, it's not a feast. Do not indulge a lot after breaking fast. And no fried food. You should be very, very strict. There should be no fried food and reduce the amount of carbohydrates. So that should be the basic. So I'll just try to go into details. So what happens when you fast? So body goes into fasting mode after fasting for about 8 hours. So before 8 hours, your body won't go into a fasting mode. So if your normal times, during the normal times, your glucose will be utilized to generate energy in the body. During fasting, after exhausting all your glucose, you will use your fat. So you don't need to worry that your muscle mass or the protein is going to be breaking down. You are not going to break down your protein. So by fasting for about, say, 16 hours, 18 hours, or even 19 hours, you are not going to lose your protein, that means your muscles. What you are losing is your fat. So that's the most important thing you should remember. Starvation is totally different thing. Starvation is not taking any food for many, many days or weeks. That's starvation. What happens in the body when you fast? So you will lose weight and your cholesterol will come down, If you have diabetes, your diabetes will improve. If you have high blood pressure, your blood pressure will come down. And also your mental alertness will increase. So, but I said there is a precondition. So I showed you the preconditions. What is that? Shouldn't be a feast, so you should eat less, no fried food, and less carbohydrates. So otherwise you wouldn't be able to achieve this. And I just briefly wanted to show this. There's a lot of detail. What happens in your stomach. In Sri Lanka, you would hear from elderly people, "Nombu konjam choodu, kulirana saapadu saapadu" solluvaanga. That means fasting is, they will say either cold or heat. The fasting is heat. And a lot of people believe that fasting causes gastritis. So you should take cold stuff like curd or milk or something to cool it down. Really speaking, in the stomach, your acid production will come down. It will be lower during fasting. That means your gastritis should improve. If fasting causes gastritis, all the Sahabas should have got gastritis because they were going without food for sometimes days. So they should have got gastritis. So the cause of gastritis during fasting is not because of fasting itself, it's because of what we eat. We are eating a lot of fried food. We are eating a lot of chili and curry powder and all sorts of irritants. So those are the things which are causing gastritis during fasting. And the other thing is smoking. If you are smoking, you should stop it. What you should do for your sahar and iftar, you should eat enough carbohydrate, but not much. And you can eat fat, but I will go into detail what sort of fat you can eat. And you should drink enough water and electrolytes. So I wanted to sort of show some hadiths and Quranic verses. One hadith says, "Stomach is the home of disease, diet is the main medicine." That's very, very true. You should strongly believe in it. Overeating can cause physical and spiritual harm. And if you see the Quranic verse here, the last one here. "Eat and drink, but waste not excess, for Allah loves not the prodigals." So you shouldn't waste. I think we are wasting a lot. And in another hadith, Prophet ﷺ said, "The believer eats in one stomach, whilst the kafir eats in 7. I think we are all eating in 7, so we should sort of check our iman first. We are eating really, really overeating. And also the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahabas, they not only ate less, and they were fasting not only during Ramadan, they were fasting on many other days. And they walked a lot of physical activity, and they ate moderately, and sometimes they were starving. So as Muslims, we should think whether we are overeating. And I have done quite a few studies in Sri Lanka, not in this country. I'll show you a few slides, but before that, this Ramadan, we got a WhatsApp message from a madrasa asking for money for Ramadan. So what they want, this is exactly from the WhatsApp message. Slight spelling errors I've corrected. So they want a sahar meal, this is Sri Lankan rupees. Iftar meal, so that says short eats and rice porridge. And then says dinner. So you're going to have an iftar, and then you're going to eat something else after that. It's very common. And then after Tarawih prayer, you need short eats and tea. So that's very common. That's not abnormal. If you go to any Asian sort of families or Asian countries, anywhere, this is very common. You go to Tarawih prayers and then you are getting short eats. I'll tell you about short eats. It's the dangerous stuff. It's the killer. So, and then in Sri Lanka we studied a whole area of Muslim area during Ramadan and non-Ramadan, how much shorties they sell. This was in Akurana, Sri Lanka. Rolls were in one particular area, 2,420 rolls were sold in one single day. Normal days, you can see 45. Patties, 6,900. Samosa, 7,800 and 2,300. So in Ramadan, it's sort of 3 times or 4 times more than the normal days. That means we are overeating. And I often got the data. We studied quite a few Muslim villages and assessed everything what they buy and the cost during the Ramadan for a whole week and then a non-Ramadan day also. And we found we are buying more oil and more sugar, less vegetables. So we are buying more oil and more sugar, which are so harmful, and then we are buying less vegetables during Ramadan compared to the normal days. And the cost is, the expenditure during Ramadan is so high compared to normal days. So that means we are not really fasting. We are spending more, that means we are eating more. So that's not fasting. So we are just not eating during certain hours, and we are just trying to sort of compensate for that and eat more. So that's not real fasting. So what we can do? So iftar, dates are the standard to sort of break fast. So dates, if you see, dates is a very good food. It has got a lot of fiber, lot of iron, lot of potassium and other minerals. So it's a very good natural food. It has got so many things if you see the chart here. But in 100 grams, you get 282 calories, which is nearly equal to about a full plate of rice. 100 grams of dates. So if you see how Prophet ﷺ or the Sahabas lived, they just lived with dates for a meal. Dates was just for a meal. For us, what's happening is we just eat dates and then eat maybe another 2 meals, like a portion of short eats and another meal, and so it's about 3 meals. So you must be very careful. And the other thing we do is, I don't know about other communities in Sri Lanka or even Sri Lankan community in UK, without rice porridge, there is no breaking fast. It's sort of like, it's a must. So rice porridge is a highly concentrated carbohydrate without any vegetable mixed. And again, we did another study during Ramadan about 3 years before, and checked with diabetes patients how the blood sugars go up. You can see that the graph is, you can see this is the porridge. You can see everything is about 250 blood sugars. And we tried to mix with some vegetables, mix with some fruits, mix with some dates. Nothing brings down the blood glucose. So your blood glucose rises very, very fast with your rice porridge. So I don't want to tell you to just stop rice porridge, but I just want to warn you, if you're a diabetic patient, after breaking fast, maybe better to avoid rice porridge. But again, if you have eaten a lot of dates, and then you should take very small quantity of rice porridge, because it's going to cause a very high peaking of blood glucose, and then with that your insulin levels go up. If your insulin levels go up, I don't want to go into detail, the end result will be, in the long term, it can affect your heart. So it can cause heart attacks. So whatever increases your blood glucose levels will increase your insulin levels, and then in the long run it can cause heart attacks. So we tried different types of rice, white rice and the brown rice. It was safe. There is no difference between the white and the brown rice. And then the short eats. Each community has its own pakoras, Chinese rolls, and the Sri Lankans do usually the patties or samosas. All these things have very high calories. That's the worst thing here. If you see, this is the Chinese roll. It has got, each Chinese roll has got 220 kilocalories, which is equal to a 3/4 of a plate of rice. It's a huge full plate of rice. If you want to know how much you have to walk to get rid of these 220 calories, you have to walk for 45 minutes or pray about 20 rakat of Tarawih to get rid of one short meat, or even a samosa will be similar. So you are consuming, though it's a small thing, it's packed with a lot of carbohydrates and oil, which has a very high calories. That's one side of it. So if you have taken, say, 3 dates and a normal size Chinese roll or a samosa or a pakora, then you have taken a full meal, though it's not filling your stomach. And then you are taking some carbohydrates also, like rice porridge or something. If you see what that madrasa want to do is to give rice porridge, give short eats, certainly some dates, that's for your breaking fast, and then you are going to give another meal after that. So are we not overeating? Certainly we are overeating. And what is bad with this short eats, any deep sort of fried item is going to have an oil which is called trans fat. I want to come to the trans fat. Trans fat is something which is very, very bad for you. It is the cause of your heart attacks, cause of your diabetes, cause of obesity, and cause of cancers. So anything, that's why I said no fried food. No, we should avoid fried food at all cost. And try to avoid your chocolates and biscuits, because they have got, if you see biscuits, each biscuit will have about 10 grams of carbohydrate. So if you eat about, say, 5 biscuits, it's equal to a sort of half plate of rice. So it's quite a lot of carbohydrate and calories. So then, what you drink after breaking fast? Water is the best thing. So if you see this picture, the best is water. Then the next one is unsweetened coffee or tea. But be careful drinking coffee or tea during sahar time, because it's a diuretic. That means it's going to make you pass more urine. That means you are going to wee more. That means you are going to lose a lot of water. So it's okay to drink coffee or tea after breaking fast, but not early in the morning or after maybe closer to bedtime. So the next best is the milk. I wouldn't ask you to drink this one. This is the typical sort of Western recommendations. They say Diet Coke or something, but Diet Coke, they add a lot of artificial sweeteners, which is quite sort of questionable whether they have quite a lot of side effects. Seem to be having side effects, but not proven. You can see that fruit juices come just below your soft drinks. So fruit juices are not as healthy as you would think, because fruit juice is without all your fibers. They've got rid of your fibers, and what you get is a sort of extract of it, and which has got a lot of calories. Each 100 milliliters will have about 130 to 170 kilocalories. So it's a lot of calories. And then the soft drinks, like the Coca-Cola or Pepsi or whatever the soft drinks, each 330 ml can has got 7 teaspoons of sugar in it. 7 teaspoons of sugar. So So if you are putting 2 teaspoons of sugar in a tea, that means you are having 3 cups of tea. If I tell you in another way, drinking 1 Coke a day for a year results in consumption of 15 kilos of sugar. For a year, you have taken 15 kilos of sugar if you drink each day a Coke. Drinking 1 Coke a day instead of an equivalent amount of tap water for a full year would cause you to gain 8 kilos. So you will be gaining 8 kilos every year. So that's why a lot of people are becoming obese and developing diseases. And then the energy drinks, it's quite popular with youngsters. I'm not going into detail about the energy drinks, but it's not a healthy stuff. It's a very, very unhealthy thing. I think we shouldn't be taking any energy drinks. This is quite a lot of details about energy drinks, so I'm just skipping. And then the sugar. Sugar was produced after the First World War. So it's something is sort of synthetic, and I would call it a poison. But a poison in a small dose can be okay. When it comes to a large dose, it becomes a real poison. Not because it has any poisons, because it's just the sugar increases your weight, increases all your diseases like obesity, diabetes, heart disease, everything. So some people, you would see in all the WhatsApp messages and all the social medias, the brown sugar is good, and now some people, when I was small, brown sugar was the worst one. It was cheaper. But now brown sugar price has gone up because, people spread the message brown sugar is good. The difference between the brown sugar and the red sugar, the white sugar is, there is a sort of brownish thing called molasses, which is usually sort of extracted from the sugar, and then it becomes white. But nutritionally, there is no difference between the white sugar and the brown sugar, so both are equally bad. So there is no nutritional value in the brown sugar compared to the white sugar. So we call it empty calories. So there is only calories, nothing else. So the difference between the dates and the sugar is, dates 100 grams will have quite similar number of calories compared to sugar. No, dates has got about half the calories compared to the sugar. Weight to weight has got about half the calories. But the good thing is it has got fiber, it has got minerals and iron and so many things. So it's a good thing. I make it a habit to always drink a tea or coffee, whatever, with dates. So you can change it. It's just get rid of sugar. So don't go for brown sugar. There's no benefit at all in it. And it can cause all the diseases. It's not a good thing. And when you're using sugar, we measure in teaspoons. A lot of people don't know what is a teaspoon, which one is a teaspoon and which one is a tablespoon. If you see this one, this is not the teaspoon. This is twice the size of a teaspoon. Tablespoon is thrice the size of a teaspoon, 15 milliliters. This is the teaspoon. That's quite a small one. So if you're using sugar, just try to use just 1 teaspoon. And a lot of us are not used to it. Asians used to use a lot of sugar. Right. So that's all about your iftar. As I told you, this is not only for Ramadan. It should be applicable for everyday life, not only for Ramadan. Then your Sahar time, Asians, mainly Southeast Asians, usually either Bangladesh and especially Sri Lankans, would eat rice with curries. So, and the popular story sometime back was brown rice was the best. it goes to an extent. When I assumed I was here up to 2007 and went back to Sri Lanka as a consultant and assumed duties in a hospital, and I was just advising a patient, and then he is a diabetic patient. I told him, even brown sugar, brown rice. There's a very strong belief in Sri Lanka that brown rice is the best and it's good for diabetes, for everything. So I told him, even brown rice, you shouldn't eat a lot. And then he said, oh, if you eat a lot, your blood sugar will come down. So that's his belief. So he thinks it's so good, if you eat a lot of brown rice, it's going to bring down your blood sugar. It's not true. Whatever the color, brown or white, whether it's basmati or not, if you eat more carbohydrate, whatever the carbohydrate it is, whether it's wheat flour, Korakan flour, rice flour, or rice, or whatever, it's going to increase your body weight, it's going to increase your blood sugar, it's going to cause heart disease, it's going to cause high blood pressure, so all the problems. And you would see now all the roadside bus stands, you will see obesity causes cancer. So one of the reasons of cancer is obesity. So if you eat more carbohydrate, whether it's rice or any other carbohydrate or bread or chapati or whatever, is going to cause obesity and then cause disease. So what I'm trying to show is, this is 100 grams rice, this is 50 grams rice. Which is better? If you want to eat white rice, if you like it, I would say, eat this white rice than eating a full plate of brown rice. But certainly, an unpolished rice, or whatever the carbohydrate, unpolished is always better than the polished one, that means the refined one. So if you see the normal wheat flour, it's a highly refined one. If you see the white rice could be refined, some could be an unrefined also. In nature, it's white. So don't go by the color and go by the quantity. It is the quantity. Eat less, you will have less disease. That's the basic principle. Eat less. And there's a lot of talk about basmati rice. Even the NHS guidelines says eat basmati. I don't agree with that. I have done a lot of studies. We have analyzed, we have given it to patients, we have checked everything, and we have shown that there is no advantage. There are about 205 types of rice varieties in the world, and if you see the difference in the amount of glucose rise in the body, it's about 5% difference between anything. So basmati may be just 5% less. It doesn't mean that you can eat a lot of basmati. So there's no major difference. But what we found in our research was, if you eat a lot of vegetables with O protein in either meat or fish or egg, the absorption of glucose from the rice or any other flour will be reduced by about 30 to 40%. So we are just bothering about 5% difference between basmati and another rice, and there's no actual benefit in real life. So what you should bother about is the quantity you are eating. So you should eat less, you should eat a lot of vegetables or proteins. You should always eat vegetables. You can add some proteins to it. I'll come to the proteins and how you should eat. And I don't know about other communities in this area, but certainly the Sri Lankan community is making a lot of biryani. That's, I think, maybe the most unhealthy stuff. We are putting such a lot of oil in it, and no vegetables, and only meat and rice. And even the amount of rice you eat, when you sit in a group, you eat a lot. We have seen that, people eat about 3 times more when you are sitting alone. You will be eating about 1/3 than if you are eating in a group. And the next thing, this will be valid for the other people who would do chapatis and any other roti-like things. This is the Sri Lankan roti. this is from my real studies I'm talking. We have made the stuff, measured the volumes and given it to patients, not patients, normal people, and assess the effects of it. So what I'm going to tell this is a very important message, try to sort of grab this. So this is 100 grams rice. So you can see a big plate, 2 people can eat, if you are not a big eater. String hoppers, this is only available in South India and Sri Lanka. This is made from 100 grams of rice flour. You can see there is a big portion, so it looks big, but this is a roti made of wheat flour, 100 grams. Can you see the size? Looks very small. You would eat 2 of this. But if you're eating this rice or the string hoppers, you will eat only half. Then you are eating only 50 grams. If you are eating this one, you are eating how much? 200 grams. So 4 times more than what you will be eating. So the volume we are eating, for the look of it, the size of it, or the volume of it. So we must be careful when we are making, especially for the Sri Lankans and the people who are eating chapati also. We must be careful. We are eating such a lot of carbohydrate with it. Even the bread, when we are making bread, it becomes bigger. But when you are making chapati, the size becomes smaller because you are dehydrating the stuff. And then, talking about the chapati, a lot of people think the atta flour is good. I wouldn't disagree. It's better than the refined wheat flour, but we should remember that it's a carbohydrate. If you eat more, it's going to cause problems. So what people don't understand is, some people say, oh, this is good, and then you start eating more of that. It's not. It's very, very comparative stuff. It's better than the refined carbohydrate, but it's not the good one for you to eat a lot. So you should eat less. That's the repeated message I'm trying to give you. Then coming to, and before that, try to eat a lot of vegetables. I'll come to vegetables later, how to cook. And then the meat, there's a lot of misunderstanding about the meat. There had been a lot of good studies, good research, and before preparing this lecture, I went through quite a few research. We call it meta-analysis. Meta-analysis is we find all the research done worldwide and collect everything and reanalyze and see what the effect is. So what they have found is consumption of processed meats, but not red meats, is associated with higher incidence of coronary heart disease and diabetes. So it is the processed meat. That means like your chicken nuggets and all sorts of processed things, and then from beef you will get all the processed things for your kebabs and all sorts of processed stuff. Salami. Yes, salami, and then your, what do you call that? Sausages, and those are the things which causes problems, not your normal fresh meat. So because if you are going to say don't eat meat, you are contradicting Prophet ﷺ's teachings. He ate meat, and they only ate meat sometimes. Some days they only ate meat. So if you eat meat and not eat carbohydrate, it seems that people are losing weight, and their diabetes is improving, and the overall sort of health seems to be improving. But the problem is how we process the meat. One is the processed meat, the other one is how we cook the meat. I'll come to that later. The other good thing with the beef is it has got a very good quality protein, It has good amount of iron and many other vitamins. So before coming to the cooking methods, just showing another message I got from WhatsApp. No, it was in Facebook. It's in Tamil. Sorry if people don't understand Tamil. I'll just read few things. I'm not going to read everything. ஆட்டின் தலையிறைச்சியை சாப்பிடுவதால் நம்முடைய இதயம் சார்ந்த வலி மற்றும் கோளாறுகள் நீக்கி குடல் மற்றும் நமது தலைப்பகுதியில் இருக்கும் எலும்பினை வலுப்படுத்தும். ஆட்டிறைச்சியில் அதனுடைய கால்களை சூப்பு வைத்து குடித்தால் நம்முடைய எலும்புகள் மற்றும் கால்கள் நல்ல ஆற்றலை பெறும். I just wanted to show this because this gives a very wrong information to everyone. This is utterly wrong message. We see every day from WhatsApp and Facebook. If something comes about medicine or anything in WhatsApp or Facebook, you are likely to be wrong about 1 in 9 times. The messages that come about nutrition is about 90% wrong. Very rarely you get a real proper message. Even the other general messages in WhatsApp are sort of really misleading and leads to problems. So, right. We eat a lot of chicken. There's a lot of myth about chicken. Some people would say chicken is causing cancer, chicken is causing that, and chicken is causing this. It has got hormones. But one thing we should remember is natural life is the best. If you look at life about 30-40 years before, we didn't have this much of chicken and processed meat. Now the life has changed. We can't go back to the old life. If you go to the old life, you can't supply enough meat. So it has to be sort of produced in a mass scale. So producing mass scale meat and any other thing, vegetables or anything, is going to cause some problem. But if you are careful, you can avoid that. What can we do? If you are frying, you are producing a lot of trans fat. That trans fat is going to cause heart attacks, cancer, diabetes, obesity. So don't fry. So how can you cook? Either you just heat it, or you can marinate, or you can do whatever without sort of fry, deep fry. Don't fry. That's the message. So the usual Sri Lankan way of cooking meat is just boil with some coconut oil and things. Using some coconut oil, a limited amount of coconut oil is okay. But don't use excessive amounts of coconut oil. And take the skin out. Don't use the skin. Take the skin out. Even in the beef, try to cut off some fat. But you don't need to get rid of all the fat. Even if you cut off all the fat, you will still have some fat in it. So don't fry. So if you don't fry, the meat will be healthy. The new system we are getting is now there is a air fryer. Without using oil, you can fry the stuff. But there are no research studies whether it's good or bad, but seem to be good. If you see the NHS sort of advice, it says use an air fryer. But I checked, we don't see much research into it. So definitely we shouldn't be doing this one. Shouldn't be frying. So, and then fish, again, fish has got a lot of omega-3 fatty acid. I showed you before, omega-6 fatty acid causes a lot of diseases, which comes from pork. Omega-3 fatty acid is found in fish a lot. So the thing is, you can use this fish, but not this one. These are all fried fish. When you fry the fish, you are losing all the good things from the fish. So you're losing all the good things of fish when you fry the fish. So don't fry the fish. So if you eat fish and chips, you are eating a lot of bad stuff. So I don't sort of want to tell you to completely stop, minimize it. But in Ramadan, what we do is, we always fry, and every day if you see the Sri Lankan community, it will be a lot of porridge, and then a lot of samosa, patties, and all the sort of Chinese rolls. And these are the killers. So we are not going to achieve a good health outcome from fasting. So we are going to cause more problems. When I was working in Sri Lanka, by about the third part of Ramadan, you see a lot of heart attacks among Muslims. This is a true thing. I have observed over the years. And one day, in the cardiology unit, one nurse asked me, why Muslim patients are coming more frequently during Ramadan with chest pain and heart attacks? Is it because they are not eating? I didn't want to tell them because we are eating a lot of fried food. I can't tell them. We are going against the teachings of Islam. So look at hadiths, whether the Prophet ﷺ or the Sahabas, they fried. They never fried. They never used fried food. They didn't use oil. They used olive oil, raw olive oil, not the coconut oil or the other sunflower or something to fry food. Right. And the egg, there have been a lot of studies about eggs. If you don't use oil, egg is a healthy food. It doesn't increase your cholesterol. It doesn't increase your heart attack. So you can eat, if you want to reduce your carbohydrate, increase your eggs. Say you eat 2 or 3 eggs and eat very, very little amount of carbohydrate. You will be healthy. So you can eat eggs and reduce carbohydrate. But carbohydrate in small quantities is good, but if it goes beyond certain limit, it will be bad. If you want to have a very healthy plate, this will be the plate. I was in States for a conference. This was I went to, I can't remember which place was this, and I went to a place to have a rice plate from, I think, some of the Asian shops. So rice is about, how much? Less than 1/3. And this is pulses, and this is all vegetable. This was really tasty. And when you eat and come out, you feel, sometimes when you eat, you feel full and feel sleepy. You feel really unwell. And when you eat this type of a plate, you feel really sort of energetic. And then the vegetables, this is from a tourist hotel in Sri Lanka. This is how Asians make the vegetables. You don't see the real picture of vegetable. You don't know what it is even. You have changed the whole picture. So you put a lot of coconut oil, lot of oil, and a lot of coconut milk, and then fry and change the whole scene, and then it becomes more unhealthy than your rice plate. So vegetables should be either eaten raw or boiled. Don't fry it. A lot of people are using a lot of oil and frying it. So vegetables, as long as eaten healthy, will be helpful in filling your stomach. So especially for your sahar meal, if you're eating small amount of rice and a lot of vegetables and protein, you can have a big chunk of meat or eggs, or 1 or 2 eggs, maybe even 2 is okay. Then what happens is, whatever the carbohydrate you have eaten will be absorbed very slow, because you have put a lot of vegetables and protein mixed with your carbohydrate. It will be absorbed very slow, so you will not feel your hunger for a longer time. But if you eat more carbohydrates and less vegetables, it will be absorbed faster, it will cause harm to your body, and it wouldn't be in your stomach for a longer time. So it will be absorbed faster. So you will feel the hunger earlier than if you eat your carbohydrates with a lot of vegetables and proteins. And then fruits. Again, I want to tell you, if you speak to people, they will tell you, this fruit is good for this condition, this is good for this is good for this. Just forget about those things. No one has done any research to see whether this fruit is improving this medical condition or this fruit is improving this medical condition. Just forget about it. And any fruit is good for your health, good for your body. And after breaking fast, if you can eat few dates and maybe a fruit juice or just water, and then if you can eat quite a lot of fruits and not take carbohydrates, that will be more healthy. So don't worry about which fruit you are eating. But if you look at dates compared to any other fruit, date has got iron. So if you want iron, you can eat dates, but if you eat a lot of dates, again you are giving a lot of carbohydrates. I'm skipping a few of these things, I didn't go into details. And one small thing I wanted to tell you, I don't know whether you have seen this in Facebook, this was a sort of viral thing. And they were telling, this apple is coated with a sort of wax, so you shouldn't be eating this. It's not true. Apple, in nature itself, it has got a bit of natural wax, but sometimes if you are living in a country where apple is not produced, it will be wax coated, which is edible, which you can eat, so there is no problem in it. And then avocado, if you see, in Sri Lanka, there's a lot of avocado freely available. It's a very good fruit because it has got a lot of fatty acid, which is good for your heart. But here, what the avocado you find is very small and tiny, but still good. And then antioxidants, I have to tell a few words. Antioxidant means in the body, the oxygen molecules become oxidized, and then it causes harm to the body. Aging is related to oxidants. So in vegetables and fruits, you get a lot of antioxidants. So we can't quantify and tell you which fruit is good. Every vegetable and every fruit is good. So they got antioxidants that can be very helpful in preventing diseases rather than treating disease. But the problem is, now there are a lot of supplements, they will tell you this has got antioxidants. God hasn't created something not without a purpose. So the fruits and vegetables are created in a very complex structure so as to be eaten and derive some benefit. But we can't just extract something from that and give it to you and say, oh, this is going to cause good for you. It's not, I don't agree with that at all. No one has done long-term studies with these things. No one has properly studied these things. Just they have done some small studies and they are selling stuff. Don't buy these things and don't buy the vitamins, don't buy the antioxidants. There's no use. Only thing I can say useful is vitamin D, because vitamin D is deficient in a lot of people, especially Muslims, because of the dress code. We are not exposed to sunlight enough. Even in Saudi Arabia, a lot of people, Saudi has a very high prevalence of vitamin D deficiency, though there is a lot of sunlight. I have done studies in Sri Lanka. I find about 85% of female Muslims have got vitamin D deficiency. So I think even UK should be the same. So taking some vitamin D is okay, but otherwise I wouldn't advise you to take anything. And briefly about the oils. There are two types of oils, unsaturated and saturated oils. Olive oil is a monounsaturated oil. Olive oil, there have been a lot of studies. Recently in Spain, they did a study called Peridiment study. That was done for 8 years. They gave a lot of olive oil for people. Whoever took olive oil had less heart attacks and less diabetes. So olive oil is good, but they ate it just with the salad as raw thing. But even for sort of shallow cooking, you can use olive oil. So the oil, coconut oil, is called the saturated fat. Sunflower, corn oil, and all the other vegetable oils are called the polyunsaturated fatty acids, and the olive oil is monounsaturated fat. So the olive oil, in summary, olive oil is the best oil you can ever have. So if you can use olive oil without heating a lot, you can't fry with olive oil. You shouldn't be frying. You can't fry with olive oils. So olive oil can be very helpful to your heart and preventing disease. And then if you want to fry, coconut oil may be the best. If you want to fry, you are going to fry anyway, but you have to minimize. So if you want to fry, you can use coconut oil. But frying with sunflower oil or corn oil will produce a lot of trans fat. Trans fat is a poison. So it's going to cause cancer, heart disease, diabetes, obesity and everything. Even with coconut oil, you would produce some trans fat, but with sunflower, you will produce more trans fat. So you shouldn't be using sunflower or corn oil for frying. And the other thing is, you shouldn't repeatedly use the oil to fry. Like in houses, a lot of people, what they do is they will use the oil for 3-4 times, sometimes more. So you can maximum use the oil only for two times, two fryings. After that, just discard it. Or you can make soap out of it. So try and avoid reusing the oil, and try and avoid frying. Use olive oil. And then butter, margarine. Butter or margarine is healthy. I would say butter is the healthiest one. Margarine is a synthetic sort of, it's hydrogenated plant oils. So it's a synthetic stuff. I would say butter may be the more healthier one. We recently had a research study, which is a very big study in an Amazon forest area. They found they had the healthiest hearts in the world. Even at the age of 90, they didn't have heart disease. They didn't have diabetes. They couldn't find a single patient with a heart attack below 75. So now you can see in Asians, among Asians in this country and Asians in Southeast Asia, even at 30s and 40s, people are just dying of heart attacks. I'll be finishing in 10 minutes. So they tried to look at this population and found very healthy hearts. What they found was they eat a lot of carbohydrates, but they eat a lot of raw meat and vegetables. But the best thing they do is they work a lot. They work heavily. So if you do a lot of physical exercise, that itself is going to improve your heart and get rid of diseases. So that's the most important message from this study. And finally, if I summarize what you should do in Ramadan is to eat less. So that's what we are expected to do in fasting. Fasting means you should eat less. But currently what we are doing is eating more. The quantity wise, we are eating more. So what we can do is, breaking fast, we can minimize the amount of carbohydrate, get rid of short eats, completely get rid of short eats. If you're organizing breaking fast events anywhere in the community or the masjids, just get rid of all the fried food and try to make it more fruits, vegetables, and some carbohydrates. And again, sahar meal, less carbohydrates, rice or whatever, and more vegetables and the proteins. So what should we do during non-fasting days? It should be a sensible eating, reduce the quantity, when we eat in groups, we certainly eat more, so try to minimize eating, minimize the quantity, use olive oil and use lots of vegetables. Do not fry the meat. Frying the meat and processing the meat is the major cause of diseases. Avoid all the fried foods. And with that I would say, don't reuse the oil more than twice, maybe once. Reduce your carbohydrate intake. Take enough dairy products like milk, yogurt and curd, but reduce the sugar. An important message with your yogurts, be very careful. A lot of yogurts have got pork gelatin. And so sometimes we just pick up the yogurts and come home, you never check it. You find a lot of gelatin in it. And the other thing is, walk as much as possible. My target is about 4 miles a day. You can walk. You can walk 4 miles easily. If you walk 4 miles a day, it's not just a sort of sedentary walk. You should walk fast. If you walk 4 miles a day, you will be disease-free. So we can't overemphasize exercise, whatever exercise. You don't need to go to a gym. You don't need to go to a gym. You can just walk for your prayers, walk to the school. What I do is, if I'm free, if I drop my child to school, I take the child to the school in the car. It's about a mile. I park the car there and come home walking. And then either me or my wife will walk again to the school and pick the child, bring the car. So you walk 2 miles. So whatever the way you try to walk, so you have to walk. Human body is made to work, physical work. So if you don't do physical work, you are going to corrode and you're going to end up in disease. So that's my message. And if there are any questions, maybe we can make it for about 5 minutes and try to finish. It's 10:30 already. Sorry? Right. I just skipped this picture because I just wanted to say about social media. I had a lot of slides to sort of tell you also the ill effects of social media. I call it I have my serious doubt whether social media is the Dajjal. It's caused such a lot of harm to the society. This fruit is called a star fruit, and very, very common in Asian countries. And it was sort of promoted in the social media as it's good for diabetes. And a lot of people started taking the juice of it. And then finally, a lot of people ended up with kidney problems, acute kidney failure. And so in Colombo General Hospital, Sri Lanka, they found a lot of patients, and they have done studies, and then it was published. I think it was to be published. I don't know whether it was published. So the message is, if you say something is good, you eat 10 fruits, then you end up in problem. It's good as a fruit. Yes, you're not going to eat 10 bananas at once. If you eat 10 bananas, you might end up in problem every day. You're going to have a lot of potassium in it. But if you eat a banana or 2 daily, it will be good. But you're not going to eat 10 bananas at once. That's what happened to this fruit. What I wanted to tell you is, it's not the problem with the fruit, the way it's eaten. You are making juice out of it and eating. What we are meant to do is to eat 1 or 2, and then not every day. So that's what you are supposed to do. So that's the problem with the social media. I'll show you I can show you a lot of stories. The problems happen with the social media and the medicine. This is another message, typical message which comes in WhatsApp. This tells you, there is a chemical called dihydrogen monoxide, which is a very bad chemical, and which can, it's there in the tea which is sold in the shops, and then it's also there in the vaccines which are injected by doctors. It can cause a lot of problems in heated form. and so and so, and a lot of things. So if you see this, you will think, my God, this is something poison. But what is whoever studied chemistry, dihydrogen monoxide is water. So you can make a nice sort of technically looking message and spread it and say, vaccines are not good because doctors are injecting this. Doctors are injecting the medicine with water. So that's called dihydrogen monoxide. So you can send a message, WhatsApp message, and make people sort of go away from a good thing. So that is social media. So you must be very careful.
Doctor, sorry.
Yeah.
Why there are so many diabetes, the liver failure, kidney problems in Sri Lanka? Is something to do with water, or because so many people, whoever heard, something that the government or the medical doctors must do something over there?
Yeah, it's out of the way. Briefly tell you, it's a huge area to discuss. You can talk for hours. It seemed to be in areas where colonization happened. If you see the district of Polonnaruwa, Ampara, Trincomalee, part of Trincomalee, wherever there had been colonies. So those areas have not been inhabited in the past. So that means there had been something there in the geographical structure where certainly something in the water. But the WHO teams and various other teams, a lot of scientists in Sri Lanka, everyone studies, no one could find a cause, but there's something in water. So we don't know, but it's not the agrochemicals, because if it's agrochemicals, it should be there in Nuvarelia, Kandy, Gaul, and everywhere. It's not the agrochemicals, it's something there in water, but what we find is it's all the newly colonized areas mainly. So there's something.
Even in Colombo, they say there's quite a lot of patients.
No, people come to Colombo from other areas, but not in the Colombo population. It's the Polonnaruwa district, Anuradhapura district, Trincomalee, and some in Ampara. That's all. Yeah. But if you have diabetes, yes, you can get kidney disease. That's different. Yeah. If your diabetes is not controlled, yes, you will get kidney disease, but it's totally different. Yeah, in Colombo you get a lot of patients because the diabetes is not controlled. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Like you mentioned,
Sorry?
about the milk.
Yes.
Does it have aged people like us? I mean, over 30, 40, 50?
Sorry,
I have heard that milk
is
not beneficial for the oldest people. Maybe the yogurt, yes.
If you see, Professor Hassan said, milk is my favorite food. So
as you mentioned, time of Rasulullah, they used to walk a lot, work.
Yeah.
We are not
yes.
driving cars, hours.
But still, I would say, take enough milk. You need calcium. Even after 30s, 40s, you need calcium. So to take sorry?
Calcium by yogurt.
Sorry, calcium?
Natural yogurt.
Yes. Any dairy product, cheese, butter, yogurts and milk, anything. But milk, you don't drink liters and liters, but maybe about, if you take about 300 milliliters of milk, you will get 1/3 of your calcium in it. 1/3 of your required calcium in it. I don't think we should stop milk as you become older, but without walking, without doing physical work, we can't prevent diseases. You are going to get diseases. So that's why Middle East is becoming the hot spot for diabetes now. So whatever you do, without diet only, we can't do anything. You have to do physical exercise. That's important.
Because I have a problem with milk when myself when I drink milk.
Yeah.
I feel my stomach.
Yeah. Some people have milk intolerance, especially non-whites. So in those people, yes, we should maybe avoid milk. Otherwise, I would say milk is generally helpful.
So what is exactly, or approximately the problem?
Milk, the problem is milk has to be digested. There is an enzyme called lactase, So in some people, lactase is deficient, so you can't correct it. So it's a lot of Asians have it. Yeah. And then non-whites, a lot of non-whites. Yeah. Even in UK, white people, you get milk intolerance. Yeah.
And meat-wise, like a cow or beef, mutton, lamb, chicken, which one is more cholesterol?
This cholesterol story is quite complicated. If you take the cholesterol, 70% of your cholesterol is synthesized in the body itself. What you're eating is only 30%. So I wouldn't worry a lot about the content of cholesterol in the meat. What I'm worried about is when we fry, we are producing bad oils like trans fat. That's the one is causing the disease, not the stuff that is in the meat itself. It's not you wouldn't worry about the amount of cholesterol.
Fish is better than meat, yeah?
Sorry?
Fish.
Fish is certainly better than meat. Fish is certainly better than meat, but fish shouldn't be fried.
But the seafoods, seafood, the prawn.
Yeah, prawns has got some cholesterol. If you have high cholesterol, I would say to avoid. But again, there are no hard scientific evidence to tell you whether it causes harm. There's no hard scientific evidence. I would say eat everything in moderation. If you're moderate, it's not going to cause problems. Be moderate. Right, let's, I think, finish, yes. Yeah.
Any other questions, Rikita? Okay, I think we'll be finishing. Jazakumullah khairan for waiting. Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you very much for Doctor who has come all the way from Sheffield and he has traveled to conduct this program. He's a consultant physician. May Allah give him a reward and more and more knowledge and understanding. He has been giving a very detailed, elaborated research program, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan. All the brothers and sisters who came and participated in this program. May Allah bless everyone. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.